is that I see a lot of people, I guess, a lot of challenges when it comes to education. My name is Ahmed and this is Monday Legal.
Good morning. My guest for today is Mohamed Khudair. He's the managing partner of Khudair & Partners, and he is the former CEO of the General Authority of Investment and Free Zones in Egypt. Good morning, Mohamed, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ahmed, for hosting me.
It's a great pleasure to have you finally, and I know you're traveling a lot and you're a very busy schedule, and it's such a pleasure to have you. And I know you're expanding right now into the UAE and also to Saudi with Khudair & Partners lately, and I'm very happy to find the time to be with us.
No, it's an honor, and I follow the jurist with passion, so I'm very honored to be on board today.
Speaking of challenges, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think the Egyptian economy right now is facing a lot of challenges, and this is one of the jurisdictions you worked in right now with Khudair & Partners, and you did work for government and you did work for private practice before. But at the same time, there are a lot of opportunities because I see a lot of investments going from countries like Egypt into Saudi and Egypt into the UAE, and a lot of investments from the UAE, Saudi, Qatar, and all of these countries going to Egypt as well. What's the economy atmosphere? What's happening in Egypt?
You see, Egypt's economy challenge continues to be the deficit. The deficit coming from exporting much less than what we're importing. So that needs a focus, in simple terms, on capacity building in the production ability of the country, whether for exports or replacing imports. And to do that, there are things that are in the country's and the government's control, and things that are not in their control, like wars, like challenges, like all the turmoil. And that's a difficult situation for any country, and the whole world is suffering economically from these. But there are things that are in the government control that I think needs a dynamic change, which is the negative bureaucracy. This has come throughout the different systems in Egypt and built up more complexities and more complexities. So to discement these layers of complexities, you need a complete revolutionary reform in the way the bureaucracy thinks, in its culture, in its dynamics, and this needs to be done through pilot steps over time. That is what we can do at the government level, and I think the government has taken steps towards that, but I think we need much more. But on the good side of that is, with these challenges, there are opportunities. And you've seen a lot of UAE, Saudi investments coming into the country and looking for experts who can help them surf through these challenges, who know how to deal with the bureaucratic challenges, who know how to get enforceable solutions. So that creates a lot of opportunities for law firms.
As a very senior partner, managing partner and founder in your firm and so on, I always ask this question: are you still doing technical work with your own hand and your own time, alongside with all the management of people and managing of the affairs of the firm itself?
To be honest, I try to pretend that I'm not, because that's my wishful thinking. I'd like to think that I'm no longer doing technical work and I'm focusing on playing golf with the clients and landing the work. But unfortunately, it's an unavoidable situation that sometimes clients require your technical input on certain things and certain matters, and to allow the team to acquire more experience, you do get involved. It's not ideal, because I believe a leader of an organization, whatever they may be doing, and I think that's a big dogma and challenge in law firms, is law firms direct managing partners and managers of units, not just managing partners, heads of departments. You need to make sure that your team is billing X amount, 7 hours a day. And that's your main job, and you need to land work enough for that team, and you need to land the quality that the firm wants on that team. And then some firms will expect that lawyer to also bill. That's an illusionary impossibility that leads to, in my view, a lot of challenges and possible corruption, because if you do not have a proper vision of what you do and what you're expecting to do, then the result will always be to serve the KPIs that you need to deliver. So it's something that a lot of firms, and I think maybe in the IBA and the conferences that we have, this is a topic that is always hit upon, because if you want the managers to focus on what they should be focusing on, they shouldn't be doing billable work. But it's, as I say, this is what I tell you, but I end up myself doing some billable work. But I try to make sure that I do not dig so deep into it, because that's the danger. Because if the head of the operation is doing the technical work so indulged in details, and you get trapped in these details, then the whole spectrum of other things you have to handle is in danger. And that's the more important thing, because no one else will do that. So it's a big challenge we have on a daily basis. But unfortunately, yes, I do still. I'm trying to work on not reaching the point where I do much less of that. And that would be the optimal point for any organization where its head is doing almost zero billable work, but just being involved in making sure that the whole... I always compare it with rowing. You know, with rowing, there's the person who's on the head of the boat, guiding everyone how the tempo is correct.
That's a very nice answer from you. I want to take you back to the technical part to ask for your advice as a managing partner of a firm and as a former government official. If I'm a big investment body in the Europe, for example, and I'm going to advise, or I'm going to need your advice in order to acquire some assets in a jurisdiction like in Egypt or in the UAE. What are the main things that I would like to look at when I'm choosing the firm that is going to help me with this acquisition?
Well, most clients are looking at cost control. So cost control is a very important component by default. If we ignore that and pretend it's not there, then we're not pragmatic enough. Clients are looking for quality and the right level of quality and the right time required for that quality that you're asking. So clients sometimes have unrealistic expectations. Your role as a law firm is to set these expectations to a realistic approach. So if you're asking for a document in 3 hours, don't expect to get the quality of 20 hours. You need to know that. So the law firm has to be realistic and prioritize its tools and resources in the right way, with the right level of attention, noting what you're offering, where you're offering it, and how you're offering it. And so you need a firm that knows all these pillars so it can give you the right service at the right time. And this is a very important component, because I could keep doing an advice for 10 days. So I'll get a quality level. Of course, there's a diminishing part when you spend so much time on an advice. It starts to diminish and you start getting confused. But 10 days is not equal to 2 days. But the client needs it in 2 days. So how in 2 days you can get 10
days job done,
or get the company the job done? They want the company set up. Without compromising on key components of quality. So you have to know what are the key components of quality versus what are the focal points. But some lawyers like to pretend that we can always provide that 100% quality in 24 hours. That's not human, and it's not going to happen. You have to be realistic and tell clients the timeline that is required to give them the quality that they're seeking and that you're known for. If you're not able to meet that timeline, then we need to put a lot of disclaimers that this review is focused on 1, 2, 3, and not an exhaustive review. If it's a document, if it's a process, and so forth. So there is a time and effort that is required to produce the 99% quality that we pursue. And that time has to be exhausted. If you don't have that time, you will not be able to deliver that quality. So working on realistic client expectations, understanding their scope, offering deep-rooted research knowledge about the different topics depending on their sensitivity, offering the fast required advice or delivery when it's needed, because that's what the client is asking. If you fail to do that, you're failed to deliver what the client is asking from you, and you will have a default. So if the client wants to set up a company quickly, you have to set it up quickly. There is a cost for that you have to take. Or don't offer services of setting up companies quickly.
Right.
So you need to know what are you offering, when are you offering it, what the client really needs, and confirm with them what they need and offer it in a very smooth and focused fashion in a world of AI and speedy movement in every direction, realizing that not every day you will have the chance to spend 60 hours on the advice you want to give from a cost perspective and so the challenge is how you can provide the quality that is closest to the 60 hours in 6. So firms are, all of them, working on using AI and using resources to be able to do as much as possible to that, noting that we're humans and not super power people that will produce that perfection all the time. We're still humans.
What's your opinion on this trend? Because I see there's a trend in hiring lawyers from outside jurisdictions. So I'll give you an example. In the UAE, for example, and in Kuwait and in Saudi, they are hiring lawyers in Egypt and in Lebanon who studied their markets but reside in their countries, and they deliver services abroad. How do you see this affecting the legal industry in general?
It's part of cost control tactics. So,
And I mean this from the quality perspective. Of course, cost is one element, but the quality as well.
Well, it requires a lot of structured management. It is doable because, most GCC states have based their laws on the Code Civil system, which is from Egypt, Arabized from France, the Napoleonic Civil Code. So accordingly, the laws and regulations started off as being very similar.
Yeah.
Now it's completely different and evolved in different jurisdictions. There are common features. So the law of contracts, which is based on the Code Civil, is very similar in most jurisdictions. So yes, you could have that layer of support, and it could be dynamic and successful. However, you need to do it in a structured way, legitimate way, and a way that offers a qualitative approach, because in the GCC there is high demand for quality and speed. So it has to be within that parameters and within that formula. If it misses out, it will be a catastrophe.
Yes, it's very true. It's just that is a trend. I've seen it a few years ago with IT outsourcing to countries like India and Pakistan, for example, and making the center or the base of the operation in Europe or in the US, outsourcing big part of it. And then the trend goes to IT services and accounting, and then other services. And now I'm seeing this trend happening a lot in the legal industry, that you hire lawyers remotely from anywhere in the world and you start billing them from jurisdictions.
It's been happening all the time, to be honest. From international firms, they have their back support from other jurisdictions. It's happening, but in what product it's offered, some products can work, some products like litigation and hearing,
of course
it doesn't work. So it depends on the product but all organizations are trying to be resourceful and cost efficient and resourceful efficient. So that's a trend. It just needs to be managed carefully because it could be very risky.
Yes, absolutely. What about yourself? Can you advise on Qatar, on Saudi, on Egypt, and on the UAE?
Well, with such a restarting background as you described it, the feature that is common is restarting all over again. You acquire experience in different jurisdictions, so the demand of the clients, sometimes you are asked to do expert opinions about jurisdictions where you're not placed because you have the expertise, you don't have a conflict. So I can't run away, unfortunately, from my past. I do get requests to do work on different jurisdictions. myself and some of our colleagues in these jurisdictions.
Yeah. I would like that you have a big operation in Egypt and Khudair Partners, I guess, started there. I would like that you tell me or suggest a new law or suggest a change in the law in this jurisdiction from your opinion. That's something that Egypt needs.
Well, to be honest, the suggested amendment, I managed to insert it into the investment law, and I would like it to be changed in the government services law that deals with government officials and the bureaucracy, which is a provision that states that the KPIs of government officials are directed towards speed and efficiency and satisfaction of the service provider recipients, whether it's people getting a government service or investors or whatnot. This provision, I think, is crucial and inspirational to change the culture of government officials from delivering a job that they have to get done and rid of versus delivering it with satisfaction of the recipient as a requirement to effect the change. Because we need a cultural change, and cultural change cannot happen without rule of law. So that is one of the changes I would like to see happening in the way government officials are dealing with government services, whatever they may be, whether investment related or immigration related or whatever. I think that would help bring a massive and important change.
Can you give me a little bit of an advice that is directed to lawyers who look up to people like you, examples who are successful lawyers who reach to be successful as managing partners in the end?
To be honest, Ahmed, I think the key word in all that is discipline and being ready to start all over again. That's the road of success that I know, or the road of committing to your job that I've been exposed to. Maybe there are more successful lawyers who have a different road, but my experience in life has been the key component of it is discipline and hard work, and there's no other shortcut to it. And I tell junior lawyers who join us, I tell them, I wish I had another version to tell you, but if you don't spend 12, 14 hours a day trying to research and build up your know-how in the first 10 years, the outcomes in your generation, the following 10 years will be very poor, because you're in a very competitive at our time, we were the only class of English law students. Look at how many English law students are there in the region. So you have to work very hard, and there's no shortcut. And I think I'll take a quote from Will Smith about this. He once said that it's not about being the smartest guy in the room or the most best looking guy. It's about the treadmill. I have the capacity that if I need to stay on that treadmill, I'll stay there until I die, until I drop off that treadmill. It's all about that. The other things are gifts you might have or you might not have. But what you control in your hands and what you can do is hard work and discipline.
Thank you very much for all the advice, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ahmed, for hosting me on such a lovely interview.
Thank you. This is your dose from Monday Legal. See you next week.